Hey there, welcome back to another exciting video. But before we dive into today's content, if you are new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on my future videos. Alright, let's start with our video. In this video, we are going to learn one practical example of float CSS property. The float CSS property places an element on the left or right side of its container, allowing text and inline elements to wrap around it. In simple words, you can say the float property in CSS is used for positioning and layout on web pages. So the common use for float might be floating an image to one side and letting text wrap around it. Okay, so let's see how this float property works in actual example. So let's go to our HTML, and here I'm adding one more div out of this section, and let's see here example. For example, this is a class, and here what I'm going to do, I'm adding one div with some content. Okay, so this is my content div, and this is image, and for image I'm using this image, that is lorem pixum, and you can add this image in your HTML. So img src is equal to this image, and let's see how this looks. So now this is not in container. To do so, we can add this section, for example. Let's see how it looks. So yeah, it looks better. And in section, we can also add container. Okay, so let's move this both of the divs into container and see how it looks. So now this is within this container. Okay, so right now our content is on the top and image is on the bottom. Using float property, you can make both of these elements inline with each other. So to do so, let's add some class, for example ipsum, and in CSS let's add float left. Okay, and this is our img div img class and float right. Now let's see how it works. So now you can see our content is here, and this is on right side, but the layout is not correct, right? So what we can do, let me first give some color so it is visible. Now let's see how it looks. So inspect, and you see we have this ipsum class with complete width. So what we can do here, we can give some width, for example 70%. So what this width property will do, it will add this 70% width out of this 100% container width. And for image, we can add width as remaining 30%. Okay, so let me add width 70% and here width 30%. Okay, now as you can see, we don't have proper background. Why? Because what actually this float property do? So this is the problem with float. Whenever you are applying the float with two elements or more than one element, you have to clear that float to make sure that you are not you are not keeping any float in your layout. Okay, so to do so, what we can do here in HTML, we can add one div with some inline style, for example clear both. It will clear this float for both the elements. And now you can see we have proper layout. So let's see, let me show you, right? So this is div style clear both. Let me remove this, and it's not working. So this is industry style, you can say. Normally we use that, but we can also give here a class name, for example, and the class name will be clear, and we can add clear both. So you can use this clear class whenever you want to clear the float in your HTML. Okay, so what we can do, we can also reduce this width to 20%, and let's keep this to 75%, so the layout will be good. Okay, so let's make it 20%, and this is 75%. It up to you. You can also add a few more padding and make it proper. Okay, so let me add another div here, or you can add paragraphs as well, right? So what this div will do, so basically it will add this float to each of the div. So to avoid this, what we can do, we can add multiple paragraphs. So let me add paragraph here, and we can copy and paste other paragraphs. Let's see. So this looks fine. Let me copy this paragraph and add one more paragraph and see how it looks. So it is not there paragraph. Okay, I think I missed something. Paragraph and div. Yeah, it was not proper. So paragraph, let me add two more paragraphs. Okay, so this is how you can use float to make your content and image in a better way, right? So basically the float is something we can use to make your web page properly when you use image and content, and you want to use both of the content in same line, right? So what does float means? So let's see one image here. This is the image. To understand the purpose and the origin of float, you can look at this print design, right? So in this layout, images may be set into the page such that the text wrap around as needed, right? So this is the commonly, and it is commonly called text wrap, right? So this is where we needed float. So in page layout, here, this is another example. This is web layout, right? So in web design, page elements with the CSS float property applies to them as just like this image. So you can see this image is having image float left, the property, and this image is having float right, and the rest of the content fits with this float, right? So floated elements remain a part of flow of the web page, right? So, and you, when you use absolute position, it will be completely removed from the flow of the web page. So you can use this float property, right? So this is the practical example of why this float property got introduced in CSS. And aside from the simple examples about the tags and images, these floats can be used to create the entire web layouts. So you can see this is the web layout, and we have header, sidebar, main content, and footer. So to make sure you are having proper sidebar and main content both inline in one line, you need to use float left with this sidebar and float right with this main content. Make sure you also add some width to this sidebar and main content as well, to make sure that it is properly managed within this container, right? So this is one of the basic and you can say industry standard when this float introduced into css, right? So the main problem using css is only you had to clear the float which was created by float left or float right. So this is something you need to use whenever you apply float to elements, right? So you can remember this using div class clear and give the class name clear as clear both, and it will be done, right? So this was about the float css property, and there are a few alternatives as well. In latest css version you can use the flexbox layout, for example, or you can also use multi-column layout or grid layout. In that example, or you can say in that flexbox or multi-column layout or grid layout, you don't have to use float. It will give you a better way to manage this kind of web layouts where you want to apply float, or where you want to move this content to left or right, and within a same inline you have to add image or video or whatever you want. So you can have a look on flexbox or multi-column layout or grid layout. Okay, so those are the alternatives if you don't want to use float, but still float is a very useful property when you are going to create your web layouts. All right, so guys, this was the very brief explanation of css property float. And if you want to visit my channel, there are many other videos I have created for css properties. You can have a look. Also there is one another playlist called css selectors, where I have covered all available selectors for css3. Also you can see I have created few videos on react, on wordpress and node.js as well. So, all right, that's a wrap for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care, and I will catch you in the